Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last episode, we got some new info from these two witnesses, but the jurors have agreed to a guilty statement, and now we have to do another summation. I have further considered the defense's counsel request for a further examination of the jury, and determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman.
We are, my lord.
Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds in which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Alright, here we go. Judicial Findings. The jurors' contentions.
The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his.
If there is some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider.
Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it?
Dearie me, it was only a little book, hardly life-threatening, even with a direct hit.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be tidy a bit of trouble.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. Gave me the sneezes.
God damn it, your last 2 testimonies are useless. Oh, yes, considerably more tangible arguments from the members of the jury this time around. Tangible arguments? I don't know if the judge is, has a brain or something, but these are not tangible arguments. Well, only 2/3 of it, but geez. With one notable exception, of course. Oh, now you notice. My learned student friend was unable to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court may accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the witnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued in any other way. That means I'm afraid during the summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? Who would even consider a tangible explanation here?
Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those two details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and method by which the attack was conducted.
And there I was thinking that this might be hard. But Mr. Naruhodo, you must do it. Have to do it. Otherwise, this will be really where the trial ends. No pressure then. That's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel. Oh yes, my lord. Alright, will you no escape focus your mind now? Clearly, the key to the summation examination is going to be juror number 4, the maid, or should I say, Mrs. Garrett. Of course, she's hiding shit. We have a book that disappeared from Garrett's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the 2. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far, whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Mrs. Garrett and see how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Oh, there's a couple onlooks. I see. But as we know now, there were 4 books, not 3.
Well, what difference does it make?
Well, every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord.
Yes, that's the part I have a problem with.
Sorry?
Well, at the point of the woman was stabbed, the landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fire scrap of his wife or something, you said.
That's not exactly how I put it, no.
Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened.
I think That's what you call a strong alibi.
So it could have been the landlord who did it. Which only leaves a Nipponi's fellow. Honestly, I can't see what this palaver's about. It's a done deal, isn't it?
I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say. There was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed I might reconsider. So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh my, such delight on your face. I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I'm a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning paper, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? You see, modern, metropolitan, rational thinking would... Oh, we get to look around the jurors? Interesting. So it'll be interesting to see what other people think, and not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. Despite one or two minor puzzlements, I do declare that the man is overwhelmingly guilty. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic, wouldn't you say? Overwhelmingly? But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know. So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too, if only I could. Let's do our very best and not disappoint the modern metropolitan young lady. Right, I'm glad you omitted rationale there. Even if the woman was throwing bugs, it can't be related to this crime if the window was closed, can it? But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fellow over there said it earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. You don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, the window wasn't open. Us Londoners, like sitting by the fire, and staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It wasn't just. They wouldn't have opened it. And what's the point of even having windows, huh?
Counsel, you will kindly refrain from this childish bickering.
Oh, sorry? Somehow I need to show that there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. I mean, this young man isn't gonna...
Oh dear me, it was a little bug, hardly life-threatening even with a direct hit.
But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not?
With flames of love, I have you know.
There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb.
He brought it up upon himself. He's playing with fire to betray a fiery love, isn't it? Well, don't you agree?
Oh, well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes. But I think the argument might have arisen out of your misunderstanding, Miss Scaredev.
Never you mind that. The point is that we having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. I won't have any more of these suggestions. With this crime.
Right, well, we'll see about that. What about the juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair on Mrs. Garrett's relentless onslaught. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is.
Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be a tiny bit of trouble.
You just want to get this over with? You sit there and say something like that. Man's future is at stake here. You've done this for the second time in a row, Bats. Why?
Well, him and B in both then, like I said before.
What?
I told you already, I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home anyone some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down the Thames tomorrow morning.
What?
You heard me. My missus is not one to mess about. You know, she can be fierce, believe you me.
A knight of shining example of marital bliss, then?
A situation like this has cropped up the other day was, well, Did you know it's funny because I can't quite remember.
Sorry?
It was too frightening that the thing, I must have blocked it out.
Be helpful? I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by his scarf. Don't even go there, Miss Susato. There must be some way to jog his memory about this.
Come to think of it, we had a fire at home a while ago. It gave me the sneeze.
Does that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's capability in this case?
Sorry, what's that? You'll have to speak up, lad.
Could you tell us more about that fire?
It was last winter. My grandchildren make me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top. It did. What a sight to behold it was.
You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship?
Of course not. It was an angel cake to celebrate my birthday, obviously.
I think that there's a common custom in Great Britain, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, I mustered all my puff and blow them out. Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go up, but candles went flying all over the room. Furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke.
Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold? How did you catch a cold from a fire?
What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren, blessed them, threw water over me, and they tried to put out the flames. And because the whole room had filled up with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to...
Huh. Were you in that same room in Mr. Garrett's place? The windows.
The biting winter rushed over me like the devil dancing on my grave. It did. I caught a terrible cold from it. It puts me in the hospital for a while. I won't forget that birthday in a hurry.
I knew it was devil worship all along. Something about this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. All of them seem convinced that they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. I think you're going to need to pit them against each other to force them to accept an alternative explanation. Yes, I don't necessarily need to find a contradiction between their assertions, just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. Alright, I don't know if it'll be really. I'm gonna pit you and you. Those two juror statements clearly contradict one another.
They do. How exactly, counsel?
Don't point at me again, I told you. It wasn't me.
What's that you say? Speak up, lad, speak up.
Juror number 3, do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Do you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, the room was filled with smoke from a fire. You'd be mad not to open the... He just realized. Oh! Exactly. On the day in question at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Garredev household. Mr. Garredev had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Oh my hat! Chotomate! Juror number 4, do you have something to say about that? He's pouring tea and drinking it. Mr. Garredev!
Oh, dearie me! What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am?
It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now.
What is it?
When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window?
What? I beg your pardon, what are you insinuating?
A room had been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window.
And what if we did?
Huh?
Oh, alright then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering.
Even though your house was on fire.
Oh, you never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It would be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise.
Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruto. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have added that to Mr. Garrett's formal statement.
Now you mentioned the window was open at the time. Clean forgotten, but it's true.
The window could have been open when the woman was throwing books. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. Hold up a second.
How do you mean?
When the victim was attacked on Briar Road, we know that there was a small house fire in the Garrett house on the opposite side of the street. Oh yes, it certainly seems that way. On account of the smoke, I imagine they would have the windows wide open in spite of the cold. You all know Mrs. Garrett was throwing flaming books at her husband? Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack. Juror number 4?
Oh dearie me, what is it?
Is that last statement trouble you in some way, perhaps?
The only thing troubling me is that little Japanese lodger with the funny mustache. After all, when a lodger moves in, it's rather like having a new member of the family arrive.
It might be an idea to use a new member of the family's name then, instead of that little Japanese lodger.
The point is, it's very difficult to know what makes a good welcome gift for the man. A book of something so nice to eat?
Putting aside our concerns for presents for the monarchy, maybe focus on the present concerns at hand? Alright, I need to get every part of the statement. We also know Garrett is throwing flame books at her husband. Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window frenzied attack. Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of the books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only what? Only I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road, that's all. Ah. So I don't really see how I could change my decision, really. Oh, I see. That wasn't enough? What is it going to take to persuade these people?
Now that you mention it, yes, the window was open at the time I cleaned, but it's true. Clean forgotten, but it's true.
The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows the very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Garrett told us he's been reading.
Well, I really couldn't say.
On the day in question, did you or did you not throw you at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he had been reading?
I did.
Huh?
It was the first thing I could lay my hands on. I heard it straight at him. Now that you come to mention it, yes. He was rather enjoying reading it, you're right.
Why did you not reveal this info to the court from the outset?
Because I couldn't, you insolent man. You didn't remember. At times like that, you pick up and throw whatever you lay your hands on as well, you know.
I really don't.
I barely notice it when I throw in a book, much as the title of it.
Tomate. What is it, juror number 5?
You know something? I remember what it was. That memory I blocked out.
Ah.
I was listening to what that granny was saying and brought it all flooding back.
Who you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garrett or the maid, I'll have you know.
The man doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time.
It was about 2 weeks ago now. I got back home after work like. I put my hand in my pocket for the wages I earned that day and I nearly died. There was a hole, every last penny had dropped out.
Oh dear, what a disaster.
You haven't heard the half of it, boy.
Oh?
The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out. I told her straight, I've lost a day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. It stuck into the wall next to me, it did, about an inch deep.
No words, just terror?
I could smell it then, you know, that god-awful stench up the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it?
I'll never use the word lightly again.
Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their way, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchets, hammers, you name it.
So Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are all short-tempered and unrefined. Maybe they're savages. Maybe all women are savages. Sir! I'm just kidding. No women would be savages. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people as well. It's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright, we'll come back to that bow and arrow thing later if I dare.
We'll move a rage or hurl anything almost at you. The kitchen knife will really brought the home to me.
Your wife really threw a kitchen knife at you.
That's right, she was chopping me with it. It had a tiny edge on it, believe me. Still, it's all memories, isn't it? I started with that smile she threw at me when we were courting, and since then that list of things she's thrown at me has grown along with our relationship. There was a cup, then a glass, then a pot, a kettle, a chair, and a wardrobe, a cooker, a bathtub.
Your wife must have been beefier than you.
Even things that come head last week when she threw me. Right into the Thames. Still, she's not so bad when she calmed down. She's a little sweetheart, really.
I'm so happy for you.
You want to know what I think? I think this whole idea of ladies first we're so obsessed with in this country was thought up by some clever lads who tossed her in the Thames a few too many times by their wives.
That's a very interesting theory. What a terrible thought. On the face of it, this juror's statement just sounds like a really extreme anecdote. But I think it might turn out to be an extremely powerful weapon. A weapon I might be able to make the jurors accept an alternate explanation here.
Aren't the house fires or die? You have to open doors and scare smoke, as you can see.
Did you change your statement from before?
Well, yes, it was one of my most honorable birthdays, you see. I couldn't let it go unremembered.
I'm sure the defendant will be delighted that you're using his trial to explore your past. And how is that memory related to the case exactly?
Sorry, what's that? You have to speak up, I'm afraid.
Never mind, he's as deaf as a post, what he wants to be. But actually, this old man's anecdote might actually provide the alternate explanation I need to make my point of some of the other jurors.
We use unlit candles on my birthday this year. It's safer that way.
So the window was open when the Garrett's were arguing that day. Yes, Mrs. Garrett was finally admitted to it. It's a very significant victory for the defense. I feel though as the fog's starting to clear and an alternative explanation to this case starting to show itself. Why did you not reveal this information in court from the outset? Sorry, guys. Okay. after whoever lays her hands on you, Wells, you know? I really don't.
Barely noticed what else. Drawing a book, much less the title of it.
Right, totally understandable.
I mean, you can't waste time deciding what to use next, can you? If you feel the way I did, you don't care what it is. Want to smash it into his face.
You see where violence can lead, Mrs. Sato? I'm disheartened to think you might believe me capable of such behavior. Susato takedown? No? Nopers. Anyway, I have a feeling I might have noticed something reacting a little strange to Miss Garrett's remarks just now. Perhaps I missed something while I was preoccupied? I'm trying to think, who do I pit next to each other? I feel like I'm not gonna get anything out of 1 and 2. I think it has to do with 3, 4, 5, 6. This is very hard. I feel like... Alright. Maybe number 2 could have had something. Juror number 1 is kind of useless because it's just bucks, isn't it? I think we can't do anything with 3. I think we got info out of 4. This or this will prove very effective. Women of Rage. Alright. I know this is a stretch. But I'm gonna pit you. And you. If it works. Those two statements clearly have a deeply significant connection. Good grief, you mean they don't contradict each other? Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? Oh my, whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We demonstrated at the 4th book the lion's pride was found at the scene of the crime, originating from Mr. Garadev's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object beside the book could have found its way from the Garadev household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garadev could have thrown any number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4?
What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole?
Oh. Beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As the foreman of the jury, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here? Now it's a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. I'm certain that at the very least that this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try and explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way to from the Garadev house at the scene of crime was... jackknife? Is it really the jackknife? Juror number 4, Mrs. Garadeb.
What? What now?
I must apologize in advance for this, but I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Oh, good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the weapon that was lodged into the victim's back, man.
No way. Did she threw that knife on purpose? My lord, remember that when the knife victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Garadeb was hurling anything she could at her husband, who had been backed up against the wall. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at the crime scene. You can't believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp. Are you saying that it flew out the window across the street to land neatly on their hand? This is a bit of a stretch. Did that really land on the crime scene? The book and the knife?
Huh? Even my missus hasn't got an aim like that.
Yes, I admit there are many details we don't understand yet. But that's the point, that's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end, not right now.
Oh my!
Yeah. Oh. Mrs. Garadeb, your answer please. Have you seen this knife before or not?
Oh, ah!
Thud. Uh-oh. She collapsed. My lord, I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madam.
Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end with so many unanswered questions.
Mr. Foreman.
I'd have to agree. Not that I think that Granny did it in mind.
Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents.
Wait, what about the old man? What? We did it! Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes. As a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors at meeting have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now calling innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided, and this trial will continue. Well, that was a lot of thinking. It was pretty harder than the last summation, but thank God. Now then, Lord Von Zeeks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed?
This trial is rapidly descending into a farce.
He's gonna break his wine glass. Again?
Like a cork wine, the first few sips are bitter enough.
But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the How many glasses of wine are you gonna destroy?
If I may, Lord Von Zeeks, the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation of what happened.
Credible? Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke which I barely know how to respond. But as to this, that you must familiarize yourselves better the relative position of the places being discussed. What do you mean by that? What's his angle this time? It should already be more apparent that between the crime scene and the Garadeb household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road. Which means that the distance from the Garadeb's house to the scene is some, yes, 15 yards. Let me see, 15 yards? That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Oh, that's a little farther than I imagined. And as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightfully note of the portentous significance, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book wantonly heard by the lady of the house traveled some 15 yards, to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow a near identical trajectory to plunge in the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is somewhat stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. That is true. We can't just assume that those two were, like, coincidentally thrown. And that's how the crime scene happened. There has to be more to this. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. Gah! There's nothing I could say to that. That prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato, serialized detective stories are prophetic, aren't they? How dare he? Maybe let's pick our battles here? My lord, may I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense. Yes, go ahead. Prosecution may consider the idea of a fantasy, but what the defense is postulating was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. As such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Miss Joan Garadeb, must be called to testify and submit to cross-exam. I knew this was gonna happen at some point. We need Mr. Garadeb too. Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Order! This is highly irregular. It's unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand. Huh. God dang it. Another bottle thrown. And unnecessary. Lord Von Zeeks. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examine. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. And yet, we must assume that they would be able to testify accordingly. What say you, witnesses? Yes, sir! Constable Rolly Beat reporting for duty, sir! Well, good morning, officer. Well, was he really sleeping? I guess it's no surprise that he got bored. Sorry for dozing until now, sir. Have been sleeping for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, those London bobbies. Patricia, my darling. I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rolly, my hero, you make me swoon. I just want to throw up in my own mouth. Very well, I hereby reject the defense request. Hereby reject this request. Oh. And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forward the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events. Yes, sir. Well, another witness testimony of those two. Constable Beat report. Case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb. Believe me, a London hobby is good for his word. You see, sir, the windows of the top floor of the Garadeb house are top-hinged casements. Obviously, if anything had been thrown out the window, we would have seen it.
I did leave the scene to go fetch help. My trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed.
I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for a moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
Well, this is quite startling. Top hinge casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable. Ah, yes, sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy. Ahem. You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable. No, sir. I'm sorry, but... What exactly is a top hinge casement window? And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend. Of course, sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's room. Alright, I'll try. So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. Has a top hinge casement window. It swings open from the top upper edge, you see. Oh. So that keeps the window open because of that thing. I'm glad to rectify your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents its opening? This is all news to me. Absolutely, sir. Correct, sir. In order for the books or knight to have been thrown through the window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. No. You see the problem then? Good, your education in windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards of... Is our theory gone? No. There has to be more. That is unless the window pane had been shattered. Something we've discounted already. That can't be. My life point.
Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man collapsed in agony.
Oh yes, my darling, I saw it. I saw how he crumbled before me.
Oh, Rolly, you're so strong.
As I throw up while I'm face down. How is this happening? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and my argument's been destroyed. Counsel, if you could drag yourself upright again, the counsel awaits your cross-examination. Well, this is a long witness testimony. My lord. Oh good, another desperate situation. How is it that you can say for certain? Very good question, sir. And the answer is this. As the noble founding principles of a force written on this reminder of all this for releasement of our sworn duty. He showed us before, didn't he? Did he? I can't say I remember. To patrol the streets of a London town and uphold the peace act for common man. It's what the job's all about. That's why I can't stand here today, because my long-suffering wife didn't tell you your Bobby's good for his word. Whilst rubbing my tired eyes admittedly. Sa.
Oh, really? You're so manly.
Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat.
Oh, really?
Please stop. Please stop. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb? Ah, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier, sir. Yes, well, so could you answer the question? That was a waste of time then? Absolutely, sir. I will answer to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb domestic dispute can't be related to the case. Before I get into that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies of how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. Only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'll be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Well, thank you. I'll try. Constable Beats warrant card has been entered into court. Small 41 that identifies London Bobby and contains rules of conduct they must adhere. Got new evidence. Item number 1, a policeman is trying to preserve the peace within his allotted beat. Item number 2, a patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for furtherance of community relations. Match upon replete. Any crimes under fall the jurisdiction in the beat of which they are discovered. Item number 1. Item number 2, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. I have a feeling this is going to be interesting. By which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir. They're just over there to allow a bit of air to the house, you see. They're restricted as how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out of the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark the map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes. Directly opposite the scene of the crime on its side of the other rather wide road. Would it have been so hard for somebody to mention that this encasement thing before? There's something I want to think. What if the body was moved? What if it wasn't on the other side and the crime took place under that location that Von Zeeks was told? But I need some, support. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garadeb's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with this investigation yesterday. You helped? In what way? Various members of the public were questioned in order to gather info about the case. I know I could have pursued, but I want to get more info out. That's right, sir. The sad truth is, we're all overworked. Even though it was under the jurisdiction of my own beat, I obviously wanted to help. I see. Well, thank you.
Oh, is it my turn now?
But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark.
Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along gazing at the night sky looking for a lucky star.
Sorry?
Star that will guide us to eternal happiness.
Can it guide you to answer the question? The flaming bucket had crossed across the sky in front of us. It would have lit up like a shooting star.
And if I'd seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. And Rolly being an inspector, I would have said 3 times at least.
Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars. In short, are you trying to say neither the book nor a knife crossed the sky before you? Yes, sir, that is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky, London is starless, sir. It certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer, is that right?
That's right, yes. If I had been on Rolly's beat, I would have known exactly where I was going, of course.
Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expected to know the location of every police box on every beat.
So Rolly told me, by the way. I only got sort of a little lost on the way.
Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewitching to me. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Oh, please. Oh, I'm just gonna throw up.
So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time. Make sure nothing was disturbed.
I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true happy is never really off duty, sir. Nothing strange to report. Don't you mean... Greetings, Professor. Nothing to report? Nothing to report, huh? That's correct, sir. I had my eyes wide open the entire time, never looked away for a second. Nor even approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I could swear on the yard's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir. Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Garadeb household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photographic print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Well, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. Too mysterious how that knife ended up in her back and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Naruhodo. I had no right to speak out. What do you mean? I requested a cross-examination from Mrs. Garadeb without consulting you, even if the judge did deny me. Oh, I see. Well, I agree with you. Do you need a testimony from Mrs. Garadeb? If we're ever going to get to the truth of this matter. Do you really think so? Well, think about it. No matter how far it is across the road, or how that window opens, Mrs. Garadeb's book found its way to the scene of the crime somehow, didn't it? You're right. And then there was Mrs. Garadeb's reaction to me showing her knife. The woman's hiding something, I'm sure of it. You're right again. Need to use the cross-examination to cover more clues. Get to the bottom of this one way or another, I swear. Yes. Alright, time to pursue that second pressing statement. Alright, I gotta be careful. I gotta time this right. Chotto mate! Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat?
Sorry.
You look well delighted. Is there some particular reason for that?
Oh, I was just remembering that's all. We really were so lucky.
Lucky? What do you mean?
Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. You were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see.
Oh, I hadn't realized.
Oh yes, that's Street Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love?
Constable Beat. Oh, yes, that's right. The one reason I was helping out with the interviewing the occupants of the Garadeb household yesterday. The house was on my beat, you see, sir. That really was cutting it close then. And Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. The Garadeb household is on your beat? Does that mean the pavement next to it as well? Outside Mr. Garadeb's house. Yes, ma'am. The pavement on the side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that.
Just think, if the woman had been attacked just on the other side of the Briar Road, we'd have never been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a Bobby after all.
Extraordinary people, our hobbies tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners.
You know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my my Rolly for all this hard work. Don't you think so, my darling?
That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information fully on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naro. I'll take care of it immediately. Case file information has been updated. Pavement just where the victim was found lies outside Constable's beat, the border which runs down the Middle Briar Road.
Now it's my turn, I think. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir?
Oh, yes, of course. What is it?
You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell.
What? I wasn't really. I mean, what's she doing?
Please, just because I'm a woman, that doesn't make any testimony less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman, my word, I am.
I really don't remember ever suggesting I doubted you.
No excuses, I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beat, I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one.
That was very loud, Butter.
I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might let you get away with something like that, but Rolly won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue. What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder?
You know what I saw? My eyes never my sense of direction is a little off sometimes.
Mrs. Beat, nobody is questioning what you've told us.
I did. I saw it clearly. The little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back, slinking away from the scene.
Huh.
I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives strewn the sky.
All very clear. You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction.
Oh yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I was up in the wrong place when I made up arrangements to meet Rolly. Never get so cross.
Huh? Chotomate! Constable Beat, is there a problem? No, sir. No problem, sir. So your wife's remark just now brings something to mind, perhaps? Oh, well, in a way, sir. Yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened evening is all. Huh? What's going on here? You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident? Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine. She's gone a fair bit longer than I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone for a good 15.
Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was of the bouquet, silly.
The bouquet? Sorry? What bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. Saved her with his fart things that happened. Ladies, he found in the gutter while doing his rounds.
Yes, how romantic.
I forgotten all about it till just now. I had you, my darling.
Oh, yes. That was just between us. Don't talk about to anyone else, darling. You have to promise.
Really? Oh.
What was that all about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that exchange. Afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm quite sure one thing. You have to ask Mrs. B about the bouquet. Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony if you please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to.
Von Zeke is like, what is taking so long?
What happened was that I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while.
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. I was so upset. When we ran over and saw I was a woman with a knife in her back. I was so shocked I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. I was in a dark spot where the street lights weren't casting light, so I didn't notice it at first.
And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on.
Yes, and I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again, and the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, there was nowhere near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment, but I heard a voice calling me on the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably.
That's right, silly me, I gone over to the wrong side of the street. Although I'm going to blame the bouquet this time, I can't think how it got there, I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite? Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is, I forgot to pick the bouquet up again when he left at the scene. The beautiful rose the Rolly bought me with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting?
By bouquet, do you perhaps mean this sorry solitary rose? You had it the whole time, Von Zeeks?
Oh, yes, that's it. That's a bouquet Rolly bought for me for our anniversary with old bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe he just calls a rose? Tell us, Lord Von Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of Garrett. That is very suspicious. Why is it in front of Garrett? In front of the Garrett's house? Although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be no relevance to the case since it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No, I think for a good measure, this rose should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh.
Anniversary bouquet. Present for Patricia Beat from her husband Rolly. The sock up she and the stabbed victim caused Mrs. Beat to drop the rose where she stood.
But it's a symbol of our love.
Let me check this rose. There has to be some significance to it.
An English rose, it's such a beautiful flower.
Ah, this is a rose, is it? I've never seen one before. Do you not take an interest in flowers, Mr. Naruhodo? I wouldn't say that exactly, but I do know there are 3 types at least. Gosh, 3? Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out, learn some that aren't fruit tree-based, for example? Very stylish paper to flowers wrapped around in, is it? Isn't it an old newspaper, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose it's because I'm not used to seeing English print. It looks so exotic to me. Ah, but I see. Something wrong? Oh, no. I was just thinking that if you wrapped a stone-baked sweet potato in English newspaper, it might look like some sort of fancy cake. Ah, Susato-san, you do love your cakes. Is there something more to the rose? I feel like there should be, no? I guess we'll have to find out.
I want it back up to try, you hear me? I want it back!
Good grief, rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Pete. I'm very thinking right now. It has to be that statement, right? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you make of all this? Well, yes, the whole idea of an invisible attacker has been troubling me all along. Maybe I'm starting to get a picture of what really happened here now. The fourth book had no business being at the scene of the crime. Maybe we should have Mrs. Garrett was hiding something from us. It's becoming increasingly clear that someone else has been hiding something from us as well. I think I may already be armed with everything I need to strike a decisive blow here. This time, it's going to expose the whole truth about the mysterious affair. Trying to think right now. Should I present the rose? Is that it? You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene, but that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby. Did someone purposely move it? Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom cannot be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager? But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? Yeah, I was wondering about that. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me, it has nothing to do with the case. That's why I really didn't mention it, I'm sure. No, because sadly it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysterious the wrong way around. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Garrideb's book. Mr. Garrideb's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife, would have been struck the pane of the casement window landed here on the west side of the street, and yet it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here at the scene of the crime on the east side of the street, but in fact, it was actually found here on the opposite side of the road in front of Mrs. Garrideb's house. There's no logical explanation for those locations would have been swapped for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking sounds like your Maroli's done something wrong.
Don't listen to a word that scrawny lawyer says. What even about the books and bouquets? Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is.
Oh good, and Mrs. Garrideb's come around. You might call it a nitpicking, Mrs. Garrideb, but deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called, tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. Someone did tamper the secret, but the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it, for a very subtle and compelling reason. Tampering? You've barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would have possibly had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there's someone who tampered the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence and all the testimony points to that one particular person.
Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who you say is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime?
No. No. Is it really him? Or it could be wrong. No way. I think it has to be him. Isn't it? Cause he said he had like he made rounds across the area. No way. Obviously, there's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat, it was you!
What? A policeman, a member of Scotland Yard? What nonsense! Why would my Rolly do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband, Bobby, who works more tirelessly for the people of London.
Mrs. Beat, you said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene, it's the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it.
You're making up, it's all nonsense, it's all lies! How about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him, he did it!
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it.
Oh!
And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene.
Well...
First you make an accusations about the landlord and his wife, now you incriminate a policeman as well? Is there any more you cannot do? Are you saying Scotland Yard is is very useless? Yes, I'm saying it's useless. But your accusations lack very one important thing. You claim that the crime scene was tampered with, but there's one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something.
That's right, he's right! But my husband and I just happened to be there, that's all. So I don't really have anything to hide, it doesn't make any sense.
You offer no motive for this alleged tampering, and until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats. Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper the scene of a crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irreparably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide. Where the bouquet fell. I think that's it. It would have implicated that she did it. Where the bouquet fell to the ground. That's why you had to cover it up at all costs. And why exactly? Huh? Oh, well, of course, the reason is, do you have something to hide, my learned friend, where it seems you're unwilling to share the reason with the court? Or it could be perhaps that no reason exists. Gah! Wait, really? You even try to hide his displeasure.
Counsel,
okay. Is it really not? Where the victim fell? Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this Bobby had to cover up at all costs. What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement of Briar Road, we saw it happen, remember? It's Friday if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everyone has been led to believe. Maybe yeah, I think it happened at a different location. In fact, there isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. It was...
What? What? I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel.
If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponi's friend. Where are you proposing the crime actually took place that evening?
Here?
But that's...
On the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand.
On the evening in question, Sagarida's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. B, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of crime itself.
Good gracious.
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my own eyes.
It was 5 o'clock in the evening and it's already dark in the typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road.
No, but that's not true. It can't have been.
Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. During the 15 minutes you're away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books, moved everything in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road. Extraordinary. But the constable overlooked one thing.
What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume.
Exactly. The prosecutor told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Zieg said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay on where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it could have been seen in the dark, obviously.
Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond? Constable Royally Beat? Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again. I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important?
Oh, really? Isn't it true, is it? When a lawyer says it's all lies, isn't it? I know it is because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know.
I had a dream. Terrible dream. All the things I did that night. Everything come out. Everything exposed. So he did tamper the crime scene? Only it seems it wasn't a dream at all.
Good golly!
Oh my god! Order! What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, really? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it?
Wishing the victim dead, it should be one too. Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London town. I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. We're damaging the Yard's reputation for everything. He's been blackmailed? I have a possible explanation for why on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason. What? How could you possibly know? Blackmail? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Von Zieg is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far.
I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence.
At once, my lord. In England, Japan, makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are all the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
What gives away the motive for the constable's beat's unthinkable actions?
It's about what he gave us, didn't he? Patrolling officers expect to walk 20 miles around his beat every day for the furtherance of community relations. Alright, I think it has to do with this. Warrant card. I realize that I'm a foreigner in this land. I have only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this info about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I learned that through honorable patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. For example, he did it for honor? For honor, you say?
Keeping up the peace, looking after citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young Bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But for Constable Beat, the day in question was special.
Special how?
On account to this bouquet, my lord.
Oh yes! It was our very first wedding anniversary.
Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife. I was slowly looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal. When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of them, what must have gone through this man's mind? But sir, I just saw that one I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Speed put up a lot being married to a bobby like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care. He didn't want the I guess he didn't want the wedding anniversary to be shocked by a murder right in front of her. This is the warrant card that Constable Beat offered to lend me earlier. Inside, among the rules of patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. Constable Beat. Is that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said. It's alright. So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beats. Oh. So that means Natsumi couldn't have done it. So let's say if he was on the right side of the road, standing. There was no way he could have gone it because the actual scene of the crime was on the left side of the road. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat.
Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I've ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could be lurking somewhere. I ran over to the scene. I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We've got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigation and help detectives. Why here? Why does this have to happen here? And why tonight of all nights? Why? He only cared for his anniversary! I understand his pain! He only wanted to celebrate with his wife, but if that would mean, like, you know, he had to help investigation, he wouldn't be able to celebrate with his wife. That's sad. He did it for love. To move the scene of the crime. It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she had to go to the nearest police spot and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So you have to go to the police box that covers it, right? Turn right around Mearsham Street, and then... Damn. God fucking damn it. Damn. I have no words, man. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted... just that one night to take my Patricia out for dinner. I'm the victim. Oh, really? Just that one night. You knew that if this incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. So you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care. You see, I thought, well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see. I beg your pardon? Oh, of course he did. Otherwise my Rolly would have never left the poor woman on the freezing cold pavement. Oh, I see your meaning now. But God got me back for my sins, didn't he? That's why. That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh no, really, that was all my fault. I should have never dropped in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable? How many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, 4 it was. Yes, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and 4th, meaning the one that fell from the window upstairs in the Garrett household, of course. But, what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around— oh, so it's the other way. Okay. Oh well, it's because that's how I found it. How you found it? What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. You're sure it was this book, The Lion's Pride, that the victim was holding? Oh yes, no doubt about it, Interesting. That means someone tampered it. I think it's Garadeb or the maid, perhaps. It must be the couple. They must have cahooted. Victim's hand versus feet ran over to see what happened. I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only 2 people at the scene, and Pat and me both saw it happen. However, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who done it, I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I didn't think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I had it. But that means you didn't do it. You only just tampered the scene. My lord. Yes, your Lord Von Zeeks. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw. Yes, sir. Mr. Prosecutor, sir.
What will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
For now, you're free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please don't punish my husband. This is all my fault. Because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late.
Even now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired.
Alright then, my love.
One last thing, Constable. Sir, let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you. Yes, sir. Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime. Never again, sir. You mean to say? Leave now. This trial's not yet over. Sir. So they just get to leave?
Whoa, quite a surly revelation, I must say. Whoever thought of a third party transmitting the entire scene of a crime like that?
Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here, principally. The accused, Mr. Soseki Natsu, is the only person who could have committed— No, he could have done it. No way. No, I disagree. Now that we know that the true scene of the incident, there's someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already.
Lord Von Zeeks, is this true?
Very well. Name the person if you will, and if further investigation is warranted, the prosecution has no objections to the trial continuing.
You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime.
Alright guys, I know I'm gonna perpetrate this crime and name someone, but I guess I'm gonna end it off this episode, this long 90-minute episode. So next time on Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. The Grace Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're gonna name who did it. Who the real true culprit is. I guess I'll see you guys all next time.